All right, everyone, time for some more Democratic poll analysis. An important thing that we do as the election continues to churn on. We're close now, only a few weeks out from voting in the first few states in the Dem primaries. This is make or break time. The first 4 states matter, and we've actually got new polling, not on the national level, but finally out of the state of Iowa, showing Bernie Sanders actually is a couple points ahead of Joe Biden. It's close to being a statistical tie, but he could eke out a win there. Do I expect this to happen? I can't tell for sure, but I'm skeptical, and let me tell you why. I think that Bernie Sanders is riding near the top of a range of support he's been in for a very long time. And if I look at the graph visually of his support level, nationally that's the case. He tends to go up and down like any candidate does within that range. People, you rise by 5 points, you fall by 5 points. If he's at the bottom of a polling period, and this can be due to nothing more than statistical noise, when the voting happens, he won't win Iowa. He'll be eked out by Joe Biden. If Joe Biden manages to win Iowa, which it is important for him, and I've said that consistently, if Joe Biden manages to come in anything other than first or maybe a very close second in Iowa, it shatters the illusion of invulnerability long enough for Sanders to potentially grab up New Hampshire. If he's also got Iowa, Bernie Sanders looks considerably more viable than he did in 2016. That could be a problem. I think Biden going forward still wins Nevada and South Carolina, but the illusion has already been shattered. It sets up a two-man race, essentially, going into Super Tuesday, where they duke it out. Sanders does have more grassroots support on the ground in some of those states. It would be anyone's fucking guess at that point what happens. My guess, though, my hunch, is that Sanders does not manage to pull off a win in Iowa, any more than Buttigieg is. I think Biden will eke out a win. Could be totally wrong. And also, you've got several more weeks to go. The polls could change in that time. One poll does not an aggregate make. However, he is now the front runner in Iowa. So Biden needs to get his ass in that state. If I were Joe Biden, I would say, look, my numbers are good enough in South Carolina and Nevada that what I need to do is send all available resources to Iowa, canvass the state for 2 fucking solid weeks, and not let the issue go. And it shouldn't even really be Joe Biden going because he makes so many mistakes. Send your surrogates in. Send people half your age in to campaign for you and counteract the damage done by Buttigieg and Sanders. He seems to be running long game, like he's focused on basically Nevada, South Carolina, and a good number of Super Tuesday states, and that's Biden's strategy. The problem is that the perception in the public's mind could swing against you and undo a lot of that effort if the first 2 states go against you. Joe Biden's crazy if he's not focused on at least being a strong second show in Iowa and doing well enough in New Hampshire. In New Hampshire, I think he's in a close second, but Warren's been up there too. So there's no guarantee. Imagine Biden comes in 3rd or 4th in these states. That begins to look real fucking bad. And that could rob him of these other first states of Nevada and South Carolina simply because he looks weak. The Democrats want a winner right now because they're afraid of Trump. And they should be, by the way. Then we go to national polling. Biden has stabilized. Sanders is inching his way upwards. Bloomberg actually did. But if you look at all of the top tier of the field, almost all of them have been in a slight slump for a while, with the exception of Michael Bloomberg, who stands out simply because he just got in. Well, he hasn't slumped yet because he hasn't had a hard peak yet. It would be funny if he did before Super Tuesday because that's where he's focused on. Ultimately, I think Bloomberg's role in this race will be knocking out second-tier competitors of Biden and Sanders. They don't have a problem with Bloomberg. They don't fucking care. What Bloomberg's going to do, though, is he's going to start competing with Warren and Buttigieg and knocking them out in some of the Super Tuesday states because he has so much more money and because he can play spoiler. By keeping those two from being truly competitive, Bloomberg has essentially transformed this into a 2016 redux where you've got Joe Biden, the unlikable neoliberal candidate that no one really, really wants, and Bernie Sanders, the maverick, who a small number of people really, really want, but everyone else is afraid of nominating. It could be 2016 all over again. By the way, it will be a long fucking slog through the Dem primaries if this happens. If Bloomberg manages to play spoiler and keep anyone else from being truly competitive, if at the end of Super Tuesday, Biden and Sanders have won every state or nearly every state, which is probable, that's the probable outcome. Warren might win a state or two. You might see Buttigieg come off with a state. That's basically it. If at the end of Super Tuesday it becomes fucking clear in everyone's mind it's a two-man race, and I suspect that it will be, what's going to happen? Some people will drop out. Warren and Buttigieg may not, but some people down ballot will drop out. It'll be clear that there's no path forward. The cry of the neoliberals and the progressives for everyone to clear way for Biden and for Sanders respectively will be deafening. Unfortunately for them, at least Bloomberg is likely to stay in the race. That, by the way, hurts Biden more than it does Bernie Sanders, I'm sure. You could see the possibility that Warren refuses to drop out, stymieing Bernie Sanders from ever actually being truly competitive with Biden in a lot of states. This would be a big fucking problem. Oh, it's gonna be a grudge match to be great. I can't wait to watch it. You don't have to be a Republican or a Democrat. You don't have to even really care, but just watching these people hammer each other as they get more and more desperate for the delegates to be funny. My suspicion is that because of the crowded nature of the field and because of the dynamic being similar to 2016, you're going to get really far into the race before the field is cleared. You'll probably have a contested convention in which you won't have anyone with enough delegates in the first round to truly win. All hell breaks loose if that happens. That's why I'm hoping that it happens. I'm optimistic that it will. What I believe is that there will be a considerable Sanders backlash against neoliberalism throughout the race. Bernie Sanders will not have enough delegates to win, but he will have enough to technically challenge Joe Biden. Biden will probably win it, although that's not entirely certain. It could be strokes out tomorrow. I mean, the dude's incoherent, sometimes doesn't even know what state he's in. By the way, a lot of Democrats prefer a man who has Alzheimer's over your candidate, Bernie Bros. You realize that, correct? You realize that the majority of the Democratic Party prefers the dude who is visibly demented to the dude who's insane because of socialism, right? That should be telling about the fact that you're not going to be able to take over the Democratic Party from within. You're going to have to start your own movement, ideology aside. It's so funny, though, to think of a situation in which it's basically a two-man race between two people who are increasingly elderly and incoherent. Literally elderly. Not like Trump. Like, Trump is old. Trump is 73, I think. 75 is the cutoff for elderly. No offense to any of my fans that are 75 or older, but once you get to that point, you're elderly. Well, if I make it to that point, and I'm sure that I probably won't, I'll be elderly. I'll probably conk out before 65. It's like, fuck Social Security. I'm never going to get to draw it, probably, statistically speaking. I drink enough coffee, though. It's been indicated to reduce heart attack and stroke, actually, now, when you fix for cigarette smoking, which I quit years ago. So maybe I'll live forever. If it's based on how much caffeine you drink, I've got no problems. I'll make it to 3 digits. I'll be way older than Sanders. I'll be 120. Just fucking mummify me in coffee beans and I'll be happy for the rest of eternity, okay? Stuff my coffin with Maxwell House, with Folgers or something. Actually, I think I would use Black Rifle coffee. I think I'd use that. Trust me, it is stronger than normal coffee. I was just saying. People can have sent me free coffee before from their companies, actually, and it's all been way better than the stuff you can get in the stores. Let's just put it that way. I think we have Death Wish coffee around here. That's the one that took off. That was sort of an alternative blend. I'm getting way off topic. It doesn't even matter. I'm so hyper-caffeinated, and I love it so much when things like this happen within politics. The movement within the polls in Iowa shows that it's actually going to be competitive there. It's not going to be like boring. Like, you could imagine a situation in which Biden's 30 points ahead, and it's boring because you already know who's going to win. Not knowing is really great. It fucks with me because I'm trying to analyze things properly. I'll be able to give my final guess within a couple days before Iowa votes. That's basically the cutoff. Then we'll go into New Hampshire. We'll go into some of these other states, and we'll, by the end of Super Tuesday, we'll be able to project what's going to happen. I can't really do anything before that, though, because you could have a surprise on Super Tuesday. Biden manages to lose by a couple points in a couple states, and, Buttigieg ends up looking viable or something. That could flip the race. You could see that happen. It's just not statistically likely. So really, right now, the big news is in Iowa, not on the national level. National level is kind of the same. Warren keeps losing strength. Buttigieg is down. Like, he had his hard peak. I hate to tell the Booty... I predicted that the Buttigieg was the one that could potentially beat Trump. By the way, I still hold to that, but he's not going to get the chance. There's now less than a 1% chance of a Buttigieg nomination. It was considerably higher when he was spiking until Bloomberg got in and fucked him in the ass. Figuratively speaking, of course. I think that he's the pin, not the cushion. No disrespect, I don't really fucking care. It's just, the jokes write themselves. That's about all. Peace out.